welcome to this Health Matters podcast. As you know, this is a podcast that focuses on a lot of issues as long as they are health related. We focus on health promotion, depending on whichever conditions we need to focus on. We focus on issues relating to the healthcare system. We focus on issues that have to do with medical schemes. So really, this is just a home for conversations about anything that has to do with health. Today, we are going to be focusing on what we refer to as health promotion, but in a different way. We have a guest today who will be sharing his journey of weight loss. But before I introduce our guest properly, we also have a co-host. I'm not alone today. I've got Ms Liezl Anthony, who is our co-host and also is a resident clinical psychologist on this platform. As you know, the topic that we are going to be talking about today has got physical health aspects, but there's also mental health aspects. So, and when you deal with the issues around weight, it's normally a multidisciplinary approach. You need to have a psychologist, you need to have a dietitian, sometimes you may need to have a biokinetist, and the surgeons, sometimes even endocrinologist. So there is no way that you can just have one professional who's actually going to be dealing with issues that have to do with weight. But let me go back to introducing our special guest, Mr. Mlimandlela, Mandlezulu, Ndamase. Often he's referred to as Prince Mli, which is, short for Mlimandlela. He is royalty. This gentleman comes from the part of South Africa where I was born. I was born in a place called Ndamase, and that place is under the Ndamase, a royalty. And so I cannot just introduce him and leave the fact that he's royalty. His clan name is Fagu or Unyauza. But professionally, he's a strategic communications and government relations specialist. But we're not here about professional issues on his side. We are here because, not long ago, Fagu recently underwent a major weight loss operation. And because of that, he has lost a lot of weight to an extent that many people have been Googling his name, wanting to know what is this issue about him and weight loss. And as a result of that, he decided a few weeks ago that he just wants to share this journey in an empowering way, because I'm sure there are other people who can relate to his journey. Maybe others don't even know where to start. Others are contemplating making a decision between this solution or that solution. So by listening to our guest, I'm sure many people will be empowered. Fab, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much, Belle. It's quite a long introduction. I was already waiting for my pen size and my shirt size and so on. But thank you very much for hosting us. And afternoon as well to your co-host, Liezl. Hopefully we can have a valuable conversation that many people can learn from, and I think everyone has their own journey, but at least there is some characteristics in any journey that one can take and that may be useful and can empower them to go on through their own journeys, but go through their own journeys at least learning from experiences of others. So
Indeed.
Hopefully that's the kind of conversation we can be able to share.
Yes. So you posted earlier today that you will be having this interview, and I went through the comment section in your page. There were so many people who said, you know what, I've been wanting to ask you, but I've been scared. So, what made you to actually say, I want to just share this journey? Because that's a few weeks ago, after your team had done some checking of Google and...
Yeah. In fact, it was actually by chance. In fact, some of those people actually have asked. Many people have inboxed and sent messages and so on. And for those who have reached out, we've always shared with them to say, no, contact this person, contact that doctor. This is the kind of route you can go to. So to us, it's never been any hidden issue. It's just that we've never had an open conversation about it like this. So I think a few weeks back, because we operate in the media space, so we do a lot of work with some clients that's to check. So if Dr. Fundi comes to us, we'll run a test to say, what are people saying about Dr. Fundi? What's the mood board looking like? Is it positive commentary? Is it negative? What are people interested in? So for some reason, someone in my team just ran my name through. And from the report we got is that the most Googled thing around my name is Mlimandlela Ndamase, weight loss. And then I think the fifth one was again Mlimandlela Ndamase, weight loss before and after. So we then realized that, okay, so it means there's some interest in this thing because it's not something we've really picked up before. And I mean, I've not run myself through that system in a while. Yeah. So, when yourself, you commented and said, maybe let's talk about it. I just thought, look, it's something that I honestly do not have a problem to talk and to share and so on. And perhaps from the responses that we have since seen, many people have actually been keen. And I suppose many of them have had a fear in asking, hey, what did you do? Are you sick? Or what's happening with you? And so on. So yeah, I think that's how the opportunity has presented itself. And I mean, it's quite clear that people would like to hear and share from what we have gone through. And as I said, hopefully it's something that other people can decide upon themselves. If it's a journey they want to undertake, well and good. But it's, everybody to their own journey, and their own journey has its own outcomes and characteristics.
Indeed. I think, Ms. Anthony, let's start. You'll be the first person to ask a question about where this all started.
No, thank you. I feel honored to be the first person to ask a question. And I think we would like to invite everybody that's on the platform to also start asking questions. Because I think, like you say, I just made a note to say weight loss and trending. And I think because people know you, that's why it's trending. People want to find out. And maybe we can start by you telling us, what is your story? Where did it all start?
Well, maybe let me take it back a bit. I've never been a small person. Even growing up, I've not been a thin boy. I was always the chubby amongst the boys. Yes. But equally, I think I never was as big as I ended up becoming in the end. And I come from a family where weight has been an issue. But oddly, my mother and father actually were very lean. But my grandfather, great-grandparents, other people in the family, it's people who've carried a lot of weight over time. So that also becomes important because then weight becomes acceptable. So as you grow and, you become bigger, you start to find it acceptable that, no, man, this weight is actually normal. So there's nothing odd about it. And, when you're an African man, some people would even think it comes with some level of dignity and stature that, you are a big man, so to speak. So, so from a young age, I was a relatively, big boy. Went to school, matric, and in fact, not so long ago, I looked at a picture from my matric dance, and I'm sure I'm not as small as I am now, but just a few more kilos. So it tells you at least I've gone back to more or less where I was in my younger days. Yeah. But with time, the weight grew, and a number of factors. I think, we live such lives that habits and diet and all of those things really become problematic. And oddly, I was one of those few people who ate very little. So many people would actually always ask me, but how are you big? Because you hardly eat. Because I was not big on the food, but I think it's what you eat that was the problem. Yeah. And the habits that follow. And, I shared with someone not so long ago to say, if you follow the pattern and the lifestyle. So I had a long run and stint in government work, support in political offices and so on. And that lifestyle is a fast-paced lifestyle. Forever traveling, forever on the road. You are at this hotel this day, you are at another hotel tomorrow. And I would tell people that, you travel so much that if you're in room 510 in another hotel yesterday, and you get to another one tomorrow, you still go to 510, confused that, in fact, you've now moved cities. You are now in another city and in another place. Yes. So that imbalance in terms of what one then takes, what do you eat, how do you eat, and so on. I mean, it really catches up with you. At my heaviest, Bella, I think I was sitting at about 153, 154.
Yeah.
And, that's when I realized that, actually one has gained a considerable amount of weight.
Yes.
And that weight, as I said, largely lifestyle influenced. Late nights, early mornings, you don't follow the normal routine and practice that people go through. Yeah. So you're not a person that wakes up and has breakfast, because probably every morning you're on a flight to somewhere. Yeah. How do you supplement for that? You are drinking a Red Bull almost every single day in the morning, during lunch, in the evening, and so on. So, there's a heavy intake of sugar there again. What are you snacking on? It's probably a burger in between here and there, or... So there's, the lifestyle really then starts to catch up with you.
So yeah. It slowly creeps on.
It slowly creeps on, and you actually don't feel it. I was fortunate because I was one of those people who never had a confidence problem because of my weight. And I'm glad you are here as the psychologist. This journey, as Bella said, it takes everybody, psychologists, it takes, So I never had a confidence problem with my weight. I enjoyed it. I used to do the work I used to do. I actually literally would not even feel the weight. It would only be now and again when I try something or I'm trying to get something to wear, to a certain occasion, that I realize that, hey, actually I'm big because I can't buy something. But in terms of me and my confidence and levels and so on, I mean, the weight was really not an issue. Yeah. To the extent that when I started the journey, even the people I worked with, including the psychologists, kept on asking, but why are you here? And I kept on saying, I also don't know, I'm just finding out.
That was going to be my question. If weight was normalized and sort of it was a family dynamic, and slowly but surely it started creeping on, what made you take that decision? What was that thing that pushed you over the edge to, I want to do this?
And funny enough, it's not even the weight itself. So, I mean, this goes back now to 2021. I think around October 2021, I was still at the time working with the city of Johannesburg. And firstly, in fact, I must say, when COVID came, everyone said people who were my weight were going to die. So that's the only time we started being scared, because everyone said, hey, everyone is overweight, is very vulnerable to COVID. But lo and behold, and thank God, I never even contracted COVID once. And yet I was probably one of the most people who were out and about working for the city. I think at last count, I had tested for COVID about 36 times at the time, because we were on the front line in terms of services and work. So that's the part I would say maybe there was a confidence issue. But fast forward to 2021, we go to a local government election in, I think it was November. November, somewhere around there. So I think by that time I had already made up my mind that, look, I'm going to be leaving government soon. I had a young daughter who was on the way, who actually was born, I think, just a day after elections or somewhere. The landlady, So at around that point, I just thought, and I'm approaching 40, I think in 2 years' time then, I said, no, man. Actually, let me use the time now that I have, because I had already known that I'm going to be leaving government. I've got this young baby coming along. And for a long time, I had a lot of friends here and there who'd say, hey, man, this weight loss solution that we've tried, you must actually go and find out and, try it out and so on. So I think at that time, that's when the shift came, because I thought, look, I've got this young girl who's coming. I'm now leaving government. I'm really going to pursue new things that I think are going to be exciting for me in life. So I actually now have the time to go and listen and find out what's this thing about. So, and very interestingly, and I'm sure we'll get to it, is that throughout the entire journey, I keep telling people that I took it as a journey of learning and listening.
Yes.
Until the day I found myself on a hospital bed in theater. Then I knew it's no longer learning and listening. It's now here and happening. Yes. So that's the journey that then ended us here.
So I think I just want to take you back a little bit, just some anecdotes. So growing up, you are this chubby young man, you know,
and handsome as
and
well.
handsome, yeah. And then, you know, to high school, and any abuse or stigmatization or bullying about your weight, you know, because I remember I also was a chubby young man, and I hated to participate in physical education at school. And I think also I had a not so great relationship with my body image, which I think even to date, I still have a challenge. I'm not a friend of the mirror.
Yeah.
You know, so just a little bit about that. Was there any negative issues that you experienced growing up as a result of your weight?
No, funny enough, actually not, you know. And I know many, you know, big youngsters and chubby kids. I mean, it's something that from personal experience, I must be quite honest, I've never experienced.
All right.
And it might be due to a few things. I've always been very outspoken.
Yeah.
I've always been the one who, you know, sorts of leads, whether it's chaos or the right thing. I'm always found at the front.
Yes.
So I've never had that kind of attitude and so on. I mean, maybe a bit when I got to St. Stithians, because then they started this thing that you must wake up at 5 in the morning, you are grade 8s, and you must start running around the campus and so on. I think I did it once. I realized I can't cope with the other boys, and then I obviously led some protest that this thing is not right anyway. It shouldn't be happening. So that's how I saved myself from it, that we are not going to allow ourselves to be bullied, you know?
Yeah.
But other than that, no, there's absolutely no, I can never say I had an experience where I felt body shamed or someone, you know, abusive or bullying tendencies because of weight. So, and I think it ties up with what I said before, that fortunately for me, my confidence was never affected by the weight.
Yes.
And I'm actually something I appreciate now, because you know, it might have saved me from even some of those things then already, that I could actually carry myself, and I was quite, you know, quite comfortable with myself for the longest time. In fact, there are days I wake up and I wish I had my old weight back. There's some clothes I miss, you know, so I'd like to go back to.
Yeah. So when we were talking sometime during the week, you know, again, this is just, you know, the informal side of things. So you mentioned that actually there were benefits to being, you know, a teddy bear, you know, when it comes to the ladies.
No, you know, if you look at Joburg today, people love the bigger Mlimandlela than they love the smaller one. So I think if I was my old weight, I would be getting more messages now. And if I was still single, to say, no, man, how are you? Then you know that, no, people want teddy bears now.
Yeah.
But, you know, on the other side as well is that, you know, weight loss is also impacts on family.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you think it's a personal decision and journey. And fortunately, you know, we had the right support, and that at least highlighted that it's important to bring family on board. So, I mean, if you ask my wife, Nati, today that, you know, would you still give this guy your numbers? I'm sure she'd disagree. She'd tell you, no. I prefer my old husband, not this new slender one.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's true. Abantu abancuma babantu bayakholwa ngabantu abakhulu, no.
Yes.
I don't think I get the kind of attention I got before now.
Yeah, and winter is starting now.
Yeah, so I think
people are looking for.
So anyone thinking of going on weight loss, they must consider that too.
Yeah.
If you are unmarried and a man of the ladies, know that you might get less attention than you got before when you were bigger.
The unintended consequences of a decision.
Yeah, well, it is. And unfortunately, you don't know about it until the decision is made, you know. So, but fortunately now, you know, you don't have to worry about those as well. So you move on and you enjoy life as is.
Okay. Let's get back to the main reason that you're here. So when did you actually, in fact, what options did you explore before you got to a point that I'm going to have bariatric surgery? All right, just take us there. You know, I'm sure you did a lot of research, you met a lot of people, you explored this versus that, and eventually you came to a decision that this is the procedure that I am going to, you know, undergo, and having understood the pros and cons of those, yeah.
You know, I'll take you back again, because, you know, when I took the journey, because weight was just such a not an issue for me.
Yeah.
And maybe let me give some background. I mean, I've never been hospitalized. Yes. So I had never slept in a hospital. I've never had any chronic illnesses. I come from a family where diabetes is my mother was diabetic, my father was diabetic, both their parents on both sides were all diabetic. So I fortunately was blessed because I had never had any medical issues, absolutely none. So I think probably the last time I had been in a hospital was probably when I was born. So I had not slept and been admitted into a hospital until now.
Yes.
So even as I said earlier on, when I took the decision to say, let me actually pursue and look at this route, it's not because I did research.
Yeah.
It's just that at that time, I realized that, there's been people who've been saying, hey, man, you must actually try this out. You should, consider going to see this professor and that. And I literally just went and made an appointment. So I did not even Google further to say, who else should I be going to? What are the alternative options and so on? And as I said earlier on, my view was that I'm just really going to listen, to say, I've been there, so that no one asks me again. I've been there, I've heard the story, no, I think this thing is nonsense, I'm not interested, or I'm still trying to understand. So there was no point where I was sitting and Googling and researching, what are the pros, what are the cons? And there was no point that I was trying to get gym membership as well, because I hate that part of space. Yeah. I'm not a person who loves gym or any heavy physical workouts and so on.
Except the nocturnal gym.
Yeah, well, so I was really not a person who had gone out and done any big research. So I literally walked into one place, started to take in the information as if I was in class and going through a course. And unfortunately, I ended up completing that course without even finding out if there were other courses or not. And even, you use the term bariatric surgery. When I went in my mind, all I knew was that there's this thing called a bypass. Yeah. Now, when you're a person, you assume this is all the same thing. So I said, this thing is... So even when the doctors explain, no, the bariatric is different because of this and that, I really never paid much attention more than I said, okay, so, I've seen people, they've been through this thing, some are looking good, so it means it's just a journey. So as I'm saying, I entered the class and I went out of the class. Unfortunately, I think I passed.
I think you passed with flying colors.
Yeah, so at the time you took a decision, all right, what was your BMI, body mass index?
Pele, I must actually be honest with you, even those kind of things. So as I said, at my biggest, I was about 153, 154 kgs.
Yes. And what's your height?
It's about 1.7, about 1.76. So, that's more or less where I was. And I was never a person obsessed with the scale. Even today, if you ask me how much I weigh now, I'll have to think back the last time I stood on a scale. I actually don't have a scale at home. I don't own one because I've just never been obsessed about weight. So even when I was going through the process of losing the weight, I could not tell anybody how much I've lost because I was not weighing myself on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. It would come randomly. If I check into a hotel and I find it with a scale, I'll stand on the scale. If I go to a golf club house and I see a scale, I'll stand on it. But, there were times which would go on 3-4 months without of me having weighed myself at all. So, I've never had any obsessive behavior around the fact that, I'm now big or I'm now losing and how fast and how quickly am I losing. So that's where I've been.
I think the reason why I asked you, because remember I said there's a bit of educational component to our conversation. So obviously it's important from a medical side to also just throw in a few things. And in the South African context, not everybody who has got overweight challenge or obesity challenge actually gets to undergo the operation that you're going to be telling us about, which is bariatric surgery. For you to be considered for bariatric surgery, the body mass index has to be 40 and above. Otherwise, if there are already some chronic conditions, diabetes and maybe heart problem, even if the BMI is 36, they would consider you. But if you don't have any chronic conditions like you, your body mass index must be at least 40 and above. So for you to have undergone this procedure, it then says your body mass index was actually at least more than 40. What other people, medically would call morbid obesity, because there's class 1, which is from 30 30.1 to about 35, and then class 2 from about 35.1 to about 39.9, and then class 3 is from 40 and above. So people who have got class 3, obesity are then considered to be candidates in South Africa for the kind of intervention that you had. So I thought, let me just throw in that.
No, thanks.
Because we always say to people as medical doctors and nurses and stuff, people must know their numbers. So you must know your blood pressure number, you must know your cholesterol number, you must know your BMI and all of that, because by monitoring those, sometimes then it tells you when to go and seek help. Yeah.
No, thanks. I mean, and fortunately, I mean, the process itself was that you had to go through all these different phases. So you had to run all these different tests, go through all these consultations, do all these bloods. And as I say, I've not been someone who's prone to sickness. So I'm one of those people, you ask me what's my blood type, I can't easily tell you off the cuff.
Yeah.
Even though I've tested and taken blood so many times, because it's not something that one, keeps mentally. But, all those steps are steps we undertook. I mean, and I think it's, as you say, it's important lessons, because sometimes we just assume that body weight is a reflection of eating and wrong diet and so on. And when you go through the process, you now start to find out things about maybe your metabolism is low, maybe your thyroid is not functional, maybe this is not. So there are things you pick up along the way that ordinarily you would not attend to, because your assumption is that I must just go to the gym and lose weight, and I must start eating salad morning, afternoon and evening, without understanding that there may be underlying health issues that are actually promoting the weight that you have, and that will not be assisted by a simple diet or physical activity.
Yes, because you have your genetic issue maybe that is predisposing you, and the environment, lifestyle issues, or secondary to a problem like hypothyroidism and other conditions, then you find that your weight goes up. But with you, there was none of that.
No, fortunately for me, I mean, what they could pick up at the time is that my sugar levels were starting to border on towards being a diabetic.
Pre-diabetic.
I was pre-diabetic, so, and again, that would not have been a shock to me, because it's something that I've always worried about given the family history. Yeah. But, and maybe we'll come to it in the end as part of the benefits, but the reality is that as I sit here today, that has completely gone. So my sugar levels are back to, where they should be. They are normal. I've absolutely got no diabetic, traces in my system. So which is, has been a positive outcome from the process and the surgery itself.
Yes. So I'm just going to refer you to Liezl. The issue of what they call the assessment before you undergo that. I'm sure you had some time with the psychologist.
Yes.
What kind of things do they ask you? But I think Liezl, just come in there.
Yeah, I think, Doc, you're asking the question because I was interested in the assessment that you underwent with the psychologist and what came up for you.
No, look, I mean, in fact, that's another lesson I think we should take. You never realize that weight loss is also a psychological issue. Yes. So when it was first advised that, as part of the process, you need to consult with the psychologist and so on, for me, it was really, quite a miss. Why must I consult with a psychologist? I've never been to one before. I'm not one of those people who debrief or go to therapy. So, this is a first for me. Yeah, I felt unnecessary, and you always assume when they talk psychologists that you are coming into this room with a person with a notebook. So you must analyze them while they analyze you. No, but, it was very interesting because, it was this kind of conversation. History, what kind of things, what do you like, are there things that you would love to do that because of your weight you are not doing, and so on, is there a reason why you believe you need to lose weight and so on. And I must say, me and my psychologist would laugh about it because he would also always be shocked to say, but Chief, why are you here? Because I'd start telling him that, no, man, my weight is not really an issue. Maybe now and again, when we still had one time and their seats were small and, on a flight, it's a bit uncomfortable for an hour or two. But over and above that, quite, and honestly and frankly, is that, I really felt I was actually at my, I think those years, being 38, 37, I was at my peak. I was doing good things, I think even career-wise. So I was really not in a state of any, that I could feel, and fortunately the professional assessment also did not come up with anything beyond that to say that, the weight issue for me is a problem. And but it is important to have that psychology because, it not only does it talk to you as a person, but also to your family life. And what people don't understand, Doc, which is something actually that is part of the learning from the journey, and something that people who undergo this journey must know about, is that weight loss also affects you psychologically and mentally. So not only are you a new person in a new body, but you are also a new character in certain respects. When the psychologist initially said to me, some people when they go through this thing, some people, tend to, to start developing temper issues, for instance. Some people move into a space of alcoholism. They said they have a high rate of that. There are shifts that happen to you.
Yeah.
And obviously, I had always thought I'm this person, I'm in control of myself and so on. Yeah. But in reality, with hindsight, you now realize, 4 years later, I sit and realize that, I am easily irritable about things that ordinarily would not irritate me.
Yeah.
So I've become a different person in that regard. So if I expect this class to be here in a particular way, I expect that it should remain in this particular way. Whereas before it would not have irritated me much. But today my reaction to this class being here is more, aggravated, if I may put it like that, because of the, I think some of the changes that one goes through. And again, a second thing is that, I obviously, we grew up in a space where, we are social drinkers and you are able to enjoy your alcohol and so on. Once you lose weight, you tolerate less alcohol. So whereas before I could tolerate 4 glasses of wine, after 2 now I start to feel that things are not where they should be ordinarily. But also another control issue. Previously you could realize that I had an ability, even though I was a social drinker. I could decide tomorrow that no, I'm going off alcohol, and you find it would be for 6 months, a year, and so on. But I've realized now that that has become more difficult than before. So, and I attribute it to this process because I'm actually realizing that the shifts and the adjustments in me as a character have actually really come to bear as opposed to before. So things that ordinarily I could do previously, I'm not doing them with as much ease as I could do them previously now. Yes. And those are part of the psychological elements that become part of the process and outcomes, and which can be positive and negative, and which people must consider and know that, when you go through this kind of process, tomorrow actually, you might end up finding yourself in more squabbles with your wife than before. Yeah. Or you might find yourself more in love than before. But again, it's because of the shift. Yes. And you must consider the people around you because they now also coming to experience this new person that they live and they work with and so on. And they must also now start to understand. So some will say, no, man, this guy has become arrogant of late, and then they start to think you're making money. Hey. And they don't know that, no, part of your weight loss is that you're no longer tolerable to nonsense. So you say one thing and your coins shift a bit to say, no, man, this thing can't happen and I'm not going to tolerate it. So let's either do it this way or no way. Yes. So, so those are some of the things,
I think it's very important. Sorry, Doc. One of the things that why the necessity for psychological assessment is to look at mental preparedness. Or readiness to undergo, which is essentially a major surgery. So to look at that, but also to sort of steer and have a discussion around some of the changes that might happen, and to sort of just make the person aware that there might be changes. And your outlook, like you say, and perceptions about life change. But also interesting because they do say, a lot of studies show that people have a lot of frustration following or get easily frustrated following the surgery. And then the shifts that happen in the family dynamics. Because you used to be one person prior to the surgery. True. And then there's a journey, the weight loss journey starts, and then there's a different person that emerges post-surgery and once the weight starts dropping off. So, and a lot of times they also support the family through the journey as well and post-surgery. So it was interesting, the conversation that it matches actually what the research shows. Very significant changes.
And I mean, I think, Liezl, to be honest with you, I think it's an important thing. And I think, for people who consider these kind of things, Doc, it's always important to take your system along with you.
Yes.
Because it's a system that must support you during and post.
Yeah.
So it's always important to take it along. And I suppose give yourself, your own moments of self-reflection. Because if you do not, you end up being an animal around people and a nuisance, whereas in fact you are also not reflecting that, hey, actually I've changed. So you need to start putting your own boundaries and limitations that you are able to build up for yourself, so that at least you can also protect yourself, but also, don't come too strongly or offend people who otherwise, have lived with you over a long period of time and know a particular you to now come across a different you. And it's not just the way it is, I say, mentally, there's a change that you go through.
So, when did you actually undergo the procedure?
So,
and which procedure was it?
Well, it's called a bariatric surgery.
Yes.
More commonly referred to and loosely as a bypass. But I always make it a point. People say, hey, you did a bypass. And I always think I'm clever when I say, no, it's not a bypass. It's a bariatric surgery. But you can never ask me and tell me what the difference is. So, it will be 4 years on the 10th of May this year. Okay. So I went through, I think the surgery, it was in May 2022. Obviously, as I had said, I mean, the process had already started in October 2021, right through to May. And I think, one of the things to share is that part of the process, not only do you engage the psychologist, but it was also the engagement with the dietitians.
Yes.
So by the time I went for the surgery, I think I had already dropped about 24, 26 kgs. Yeah. Because already of the change in lifestyle that I was now trying to put on. But obviously, one would have said, then why didn't you stop and just do what you were already doing right? And the issue is that how do you keep up the discipline and so on? Yes. But, the journey and the support that was there, what you eat, how do you eat, and all of that had actually a massive impact on its own before I actually went for the surgery. So by the time I went for the surgery, I had already dropped considerable amount of weight. And then after the surgery, all hell broke loose, and it all started dropping very quickly over the last 2 years or so.
Yeah, because they say at least about a month before the op, you are put on a certain strict healthy diet, low calories and whatever. The aim is to actually low calorie and others. The aim is to actually, shrink your liver.
Oh,
a bit.
Oh yes,
Right?
yes. I remember. Yes.
A bit. This is a month before. Then you go in. Now we talked about bariatric surgery, but actually that's just an umbrella term for different surgeries that are done. Two of them are done around the stomach. There's something called a sleeve. They create an artificial sleeve. There's another one, the gastric bypass. So those are just two different ones.
I think I got the sleeve. Yeah, I think I got the sleeve from what I remember explained. So I'm one of the ones with the sleeve.
And then others, they actually look at the enzymes that come from the pancreas and diverting those and whatever. So there's different types. Let me just, I don't want to get technical here. So, but there's different types of surgeries around the stomach. But in essence, they make the stomach to be smaller.
Yes.
Right? In essence. So therefore, that means even your portions are going to have to be smaller when you are eating.
That's the biggest frustration, And I must tell you, Doc, thanks for that. So I think the one they said I had was the sleeve surgery, because again, from all the tests and everything that they had run, they said that's the best clinical procedure that can be done. And by the way, it happened in South Africa. So people must never ask me about Turkey. I go to Turkey for business and work. I've never been to Turkey for any surgery. And we've got some of the best doctors here and medical professionals, So... And as you rightly put it, so I got the sleeve, and unfortunately now your portions become smaller, and I must tell you, it's the most frustrating thing. What people don't know is that, one, you take longer to eat. Yeah. So any meal now takes me a good 20 minutes, a meal that I would probably finish in 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Yes. There are days when I know I'm feeling hungry, and I know what I'm feeling or would like to have, and you go to a particular restaurant because you enjoy and you want that steak, And unfortunately, once it's presented before you, you can only cut a piece or two and can't go any further.
Yes.
And then there are days when you can gobble up the entire steak. So that's also that, uncertainty when it comes to meals, because sometimes you can eat more, sometimes you can only eat so much.
Yes.
But again, it's just it's part of the learnings of the process and just maintaining the right diet, eating as often as possible. Because I think, Doc, and from a health level, one of the things that we never care to do is understanding how we should monitor our eating patterns. So as I said earlier on, I was a person who never ate breakfast. Breakfast was never a meal for me. But today it's one meal I have consistently all the time. I never want to miss breakfast.
Yes.
We are people who don't, it's not in our habit normally to snack.
Yeah.
So this thing that during the day, have some biltong, have some nuts, mid-morning, and so it's not things we normally do. But now you realize that those are important things to do, because then they give you the protein supplement that you need in your body.
Yeah.
Having your lunch portions properly, eating your dinner, not too late, but at least at a decent and regular time, so that your body can process food differently. And unfortunately, those are the things that come with the space. But one of the positive things is that, and maybe you could tell us, Liezl, in terms of the research, was that many people apparently struggle to eat steak after the surgery.
Yeah.
Now, I was very odd, because I think 2 months after surgery, I was already able to dig into a steak. So my doctors would say, and my dietitians would be shocked to say, and nothing happens. I would say, no, I dig into a steak quite, as I eat normally as I used to. So I've been quite fortunate in the sense that everything I used to eat before, I'm still able to eat.
Yeah.
And I've heard of stories where people unfortunately used to enjoy steak and now don't enjoy steak as much, and so on, because your eating habits change as well. But I've been very fortunate that I've been blessed, and maybe it's because someone knew that I wouldn't be disciplined, that at least the things that I love to eat and love to have, I can still consistently have till today.
So you had your op. How long did it take for you in hospital now? I mean, were you admitted for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month? Was it, what they call minimally invasive, where they use laparoscope, or they actually cut you? No. We need to ask these basic questions.
No. And you must remember, those are things that also interested me, because I was going to hospital for the first time. So I had never slept in a hospital before this particular op. So I got wheeled there on the day. I mean, I was admitted on the 9th and discharged, I think, on the 12th. So it was just 3 days in a hospital. It was a non-invasive surgery in the sense that they used the cameras and so on.
Beautiful.
And fortunately, I also didn't have any... I never had any side, complications and so on that came up.
So the surgery just went smoothly.
Surgery went smoothly. I recovered quite well. The funny part though is that after the surgery, now I'm excited that I'm going home.
Yeah.
And then on the day I'm supposed to leave the hospital, I get a gout attack. Now I can't walk out of the hospital. I have to be driven in a wheelchair. Because one of the things that I would get also once in a while was gout. But fortunately, it's also history now. So I no longer get, annually I'd probably have a gout attack twice. And I could never locate what causes this gout, because people normally say, no, if you eat a lot of meat, you get gout.
Yeah.
But it would always attack me and when I trace back, I would realize that, but I didn't eat any meat. I didn't drink any alcohol excessively and so on. So I could never actually pinpoint what triggers this gout. So now I've been in hospital for 3 days for a surgery. And then the day I'm supposed to leave, I wake up, I've got a gout attack. And I'm excited because I'm going to be walking out to see the landlady at home. Now I can't walk. I'm in a wheelchair because I've got this gout attack that's got me, immobilized, so to speak. So I was very fortunate in that, I stayed 3 days. It was a non-invasive surgery. I think I had some of the best surgeons around. I'm still here standing, so I think they were quite good surgeons. And the aftercare also was quite good. So, in 3 days I was back home. In a month after, actually, I even flew, I think, to Port Elizabeth. I took a drive from Port Elizabeth to Alice and to East London. So I was quite active and mobile in no time and could move. The only thing is that Obviously, I had to be on a liquid diet for a while, and then, sloppy foods, etc. Now you start eating like a baby, neutral.
Yeah.
And yet you're an adult. But, that comes with the process. So just for about a month, but then I was fully back to myself, able to function and work without any pain or complications or anything like that.
Are there things that you were told you cannot eat or drink since you've had this op?
Alcohol, firstly. No, well, before the op, again, I think it was 2 months before, it was part of the program that, you need to cut alcohol. As I said again, for me, that was always the easier part because I could always just drop it as and when I want. Yeah. There are things that you're not supposed to be taking. So the Red Bull I also had to drop. And I mean, it was a very bad habit.
Yes.
And
it's addictive.
It's very addictive, that I had to drop before the surgery, and there were the suggestions that you may not enjoy steak anymore, and that was very frustrating for me because I love meat.
For inborn.
Yes,
man and meat, same WhatsApp group.
And when you look at your cows sometimes and they look so good, you worry that all these other people are going to eat my cows except me. So I was very worried about that, but fortunately, as I say, I could eat meat, soon after.
So when you go to Mgidi, at least you don't have a problem whereby now you watch other people eating meat. I'm talking about red meat.
Yes, no.
There's no chicken in Mgidi.
No. In fact, the one frustrating trip I had is the one I was talking about a month after my surgery. Yeah. So I go to Alice with some family members of ours. They were doing a commemoration of one of the big chiefs there, Chief Mabandla. And, true to form, family is excited to see me and so on. And, where we come from, Liezl, there's a sign of respect when you attend an occasion. They bring out a big platter of meat to say, as the chief, we welcome you. Here's the meat. This one will be fried for you. This one will be cooked. So I had to sit here and look at the people next to me because I couldn't exactly say to them, hey, I'm not going to be able to participate.
Yeah.
And then when the meat came, I had to walk away from it. But mentally, it was frustrating because I knew that ox liver and fat is something that I would love to take. Yeah. But I wouldn't want to take the risk then because I was just a month out of surgery. Yeah. So, that's one of the very frustrating episodes I had because then I had to look at this meat and decide, no, I can't participate. But other than that, I mean, to date, there's nothing that I enjoyed before that I can say I can't eat anymore. There's and all the things that are suggested to say no, eat this, but within limits, eat that, and unfortunately, with the moderation and unfortunately my appetite is not as big anymore anyway. So I can only eat smaller portions even of the things I enjoy.
So your appetite in relation to food is not as big. Has it increased somewhere?
Well, appetite always increases in different places. I must watch what I say here. It's not medical, this question. No. No, it's true. You tend to enjoy other things that you do more. But obviously, as I'm saying, you need to also be conscious of the things that would not be good for you.
Yes.
So if you're not eating more, you might lean to drinking more. So that also you need to do in moderation to say no and be conscious about it, I would only imagine there would be nothing frustrating as people who drink a lot who don't realize that they're drinking a lot. And there's a friend of mine who would say so a while back and say, hey, Chief, do you realize that you're drinking a lot these days? And you say, yeah, no, I do. He says, no, I'm not saying anything. I'm just checking if you realize it. Yes, but that was even before the off. So I was just saying, it's always important to be conscious of who you are and where you are. So that with all decisions you take, you are consciously able to control, whatever it is that you may be, engaged in, whatever you take in, be it food, so it's important. So, one, as I say, my appetite actually, I think it's big mentally. In my mind, I still believe I've got a very big appetite. So I still go to all the best restaurants I love going to. I still order all those big meals. So if I go to a fish place, I still order the big fish, but I can only have 2 pieces of it and have to leave the rest and go home with it. So that's just the unfortunate part.
Beautiful. Any complications that you have experienced to date in relation to the operation that you underwent?
No, as again, I'll mention, I really consider myself blessed and fortunate. I've absolutely had no complications that relate to the operation itself, except for an experience I had, I think in 2024. So I had traveled and so on. I came back into Johannesburg, and for some odd reason, one morning I couldn't walk. And so I started wondering what's happening with myself. I couldn't walk, and I tried to get into bed. I realized I couldn't walk, and then I had to go to hospital because I hate anything that's going to be medical. I become fearful immediately. So I went to hospital, and at that time they then found that I've got blood clots in my legs.
Yes.
Which was deep vein thrombosis, and apparently this thing builds up if you've been traveling or if you've been sitting for long hours on a flight.
Sometimes they call it economy class. Challenge. When you are flying from here to wherever, in an economy class, in the flight.
So you've properly defined it.
Yes.
So people must now know that they mustn't ask about my net worth. I'm an economy class person, and that's the sicknesses I have.
No, that's why they say if you're in economy class, every 2 hours
you must
stand up, walk a bit,
and
you twist the ankle and all of that, just to make sure that those muscles in your calves can ensure that the blood moves.
Can flow properly.
Because if you are taking a 16-hour flight to the US and you haven't done that, the chances of you having a clot, are a bit higher.
In fact, what I had done is that I'd actually taken a drive from Durban to Joburg. I think it was one weekend and there were no flights, so we then decided to drive back. I had unfortunately promised the landlady that I would take her to one of the markets in Johannesburg and so on. So I had hoped I would come back from Durban the day before. But as with all things Durban and KZN, it became too nice and I couldn't come back. But now the morning I was supposed to come back, there were no flights. So I had to make the drive because I had this promise that I had made at home. So I then got this blood clots issue. And these are the things we don't know, because clearly this thing had built up. I was walking around with it. And I was just fortunate that I picked it up early. In the sense that when I realized that I can't move my legs, I didn't say, no, let me get deep heat, let me try this and that. I just quickly went to hospital. Lo and behold, I ended up in ICU, I think, for about 5 days. Because now this clot had developed.
Clot can move from there and go and block, your pulmonary artery, which can actually cause one to lose their life.
And the most interesting thing, which I would still love to learn from medical professionals, so from that clot, all of a sudden you get in hospital, you're told your pressure is low. Then they said to me, I read later on when they bring my food, it's written diabetic. And I say, no, man, but I've got no diabetes. Then you told your kidneys are not functioning, you might need dialysis. So clearly there was just a system shutdown from the clot itself. And I don't know why these things always intertwine and so on.
Because remember now, that clot is released in, small sizes and big sizes. So others are able to pass through the heart to the left side, and then they will go to places like the kidneys. Even better that it didn't go to the brain. So depending on the size, it can actually, pass through the heart and the lungs and the heart and all of that.
So, that scared me because although unrelated to the op, but, it was something, as I've said, I'm not a hospitalization person. I'd only gone to hospital for the op. So when I come up with this deep vein thrombosis, as you say, then all of these things are collapsing. And I think it's one of those things, as you're saying, that they then, the system gets a shock from one thing and then it starts collapsing. So a few days later, once I'm out of ICU, I asked them, can you give me proper food? Because now the hospital has been giving me these things with the diabetic stick. They say, but no, you're diabetic. No, I said, I'm not diabetic. So when they tested my sugar levels again, I think this was probably 6 days later, they realized that they are normal. But clearly at the time, because of the clot, everything had shot up in one direction and another. And everyone now thought, no, this guy is diabetic. The other doctor was saying, we're needing dialysis. The kidneys are collapsing and so on. But from the operation itself, I've been very fortunate. I had absolutely no complications whatsoever.
No, I think I wanted to ask the questions that I think a lot of people are out there.
Yes. Is there anyone who's monitoring the comments to see if there are any questions? It would be nice if people can send through questions on my Facebook or even in YouTube, so that we can pose those questions to our guest here. So let's come to the issue of the wardrobe. Well, surely now you've lost a lot of weight at that point, and I'm sure it took you time, over months. So you can't exactly buy something now, because in 2 months' time or 3 months' time, that thing is going to be loose again. So how did you deal with the issue of transforming the wardrobe?
You know, many people normally say the surgery is expensive.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the most expensive thing is replacing your wardrobe. Even your shoe size changes at some point, and you realize that, no, man, the shoe size I thought I was before, I'm wearing a smaller size now all of a sudden because of the weight. But it's true. I mean, it's the most fascinating thing. So, you know, as you would imagine, I had to let go of many suits. So there are many happy beneficiaries out there in my family and other places. A lot of shoes, a lot of clothing. But now the frustrating thing is because the weight loss is gradual. Yeah. And I'm someone who loves clothes. So you buy a shirt today, it fits you well, and then in 2 weeks' time it no longer fits, it looks big.
Yeah.
So while you're losing the weight, in fact, any advice I would give anybody is that, you know, you must really shop at your most cheapest outlets.
Yeah.
Because what then tends to happen is that you buy all of this clothing because you like certain things and so on, but in a month's time, it doesn't fit you anymore. Yeah. And towards the end of the weight loss journey, you start thinking, no, let me keep this one. Maybe I'll gain a bit back and then can still make use of it. But the reality is you lose it. So, I mean, the wardrobe has undergone a complete transformation. And fortunately and unfortunately is that it's a very expensive transformation because now you need to be buying new clothing regularly and so on. But I mean, it's also a nice independence, you know. Previously, if I wanted a suit, you know, I had my guys who always knew that they are on standby to make suits, you know. I know they've lost a lot of business now because I can walk into a shop and just get a suit, even though I still like some of my stuff tailored. So, you know, those are the kind of benefits you get because, you know, when you're a big person, and especially in South Africa, and you don't always have the benefit of going to, you know, if you go to New York, there's a big and tall section at Macy's, at those kind of stores. In South Africa, you don't really have that kind of variety of good clothing for big people. Yeah. And unfortunately, you've got a lot of big people who love good things. Yes. But also, it ends up, you then divert your attention to other things. So, you know, at the time when I was big and I couldn't wear some of the things I liked, you know, you pick up new habits. So you end up liking bags. So you spend a lot of, you know, your fashionable items on bags. You spend a lot on shoes. You spend a lot, you know, those kind of things become things that you now, you know, take and look at and use to accessorize because at least you still want to be fashionable and decent and look good. So, yeah, no, weight loss, guys, the surgery might be expensive if you think so, but yeah, the wardrobe is the big killer.
Yes. So there are a few questions here that are coming from, I think this is YouTube. I think one is about Liezl, that they cannot hear your voice. So please lift up your voice. How much did the surgery cost? That's a question.
Okay. So I think when the full quote, if I remember well then, was about 250,000 rand.
$250,000.
When we put it like that, I know in my mind I had $250,000 and I thought it's the wrong, it would be the wrong thing for me to say. So it's about,
that's not even a goal.
Yeah, well, you know, but it's an investment in your health in the end. So it's an investment you must make. But you know, the fortunate thing is that it may be 250, but it's cumulatively. Yes. So it's a consultation on this day, it costs you a particular amount. It's a dietitian on that day, it costs you a particular amount. It's special food on that time. So over a period of a year and a half, then you realize that cumulatively you may have spent about 250,000. But it is not a question that, from the facility that I utilized where you must come in and put a 250,000 rand cash injection. Unfortunately, that's not money I have or anyone else, I think, would just have lying around. So it's something that you work, you can budget on, and at least you know, because it's a roadmap that over the next 18 months, this is how much you are going to be spending on the process itself.
Okay. So any other question that you'd like to pose?
I think
whilst I'm looking at the questions,
I think people would probably want to know how much weight have you lost?
So now, at my heaviest, I said I was probably about 153. You'll have to help me with the sums. Yeah. But I think now I'm probably sitting at about 76 kgs. So it's quite a considerable. It's another person entirely. So I've lost Fundile off me. Yeah. It's quite a huge loss.
And I think the question is, how have you adjusted? When you look at yourself in the mirror, do you recognize yourself?
I do. Let me give you a funnier thing. The landlady, which is my daughter, I always wonder, and it shocks me every time. So she will walk around the house sometimes, and some of the pictures that are there are of me in my old days. Yes. But she can still recognize me. She still says, "Daddy." And I say, "But how do you know this is your dad? Because you never met this guy. This is the guy you know." But clearly she can still recognize. So, when I look at the mirror, I still see me. But Pele follows me on Facebook. He knows I like to reminisce about my big days and all their benefits. So it was a time I enjoyed being big. But one of the things maybe, and we could share, because people sometimes get shocked. So when I undertook the process, I had said I'd sort of left public life. So from a life where I was a regular on TV and so on, people could see me commenting on certain matters and so on. So I disappeared. And in that disappearance process, I've now left government. I've got this new child. I'm a house husband. I'm doing my own thing, I'm losing weight. So in December, I think 2024, sadly, our famous songstress and singer Zahara dies.
Zahara, yes.
So I'm then asked to go and speak at the memorial service. Now, this is a big memorial service. The whole of South Africa is watching. Yeah. So for the first time, I'm literally appearing in public, and I look like I'm on my deathbed, So after I appear at the funeral at the memorial of Zahara and I speak there, I can tell you, man, the flood of calls my family is getting from the local priests at home to say, why Nkosi Phela kangaka? This guy is dying. What's happening? What's wrong? You know? Because now it's a shock to even society who have not seen me in such a long time. And I think this is where this Google search has started, that what's happening with this guy? So, and then now it becomes a new adjustment, because now everyone is worried and so on. And people always speak about weight in hushed tones,
Yes.
So there's few people who actually approach you and say, "Hey, man, chief, we need the solution. What have you done?"
Yeah.
There are those who don't ask you for a solution. There are people who bump into you and say,
there are those who will also,
provide you a solution.
Well, there will be those who will also make a diagnosis.
Yes, no, definitely.
And believe that you are terminal.
Let me tell you, you come across people who will say, without even greeting you, "Hey, Mlimandlela, no man, I'm going to get a number. There's someone who helped my sister's wife or husband, my sister's husband with diabetes.
Yeah.
He came back, he was nearly at your size. He was nearly on his deathbed. And you ask, and now you must force yourself to, should I be explaining or not? Yeah. And often I would just say, no, please, man, hey, give me that number. I need it urgently. Can you please fast track? And the SG of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, one time, Mbak says to me, so after a while he looks at me, and I, for the first time, he says, "Hey, I thought you were dying, my chief. Now you are looking good, man."
Yes, but he didn't have the courage at the time to tell
so
you.
he says now, yes. And other people, and you'd laugh with them to say, and someone would joke personally to them and say, "Hey guys, continue paying your AFPOP, because you can go anytime. You see me, I'm about to go."
Yeah.
And people will get shocked, but because people have these questions, but no one is asking.
Exactly.
So you must also cater for that, so that you can share with people that, no, I'm well. And some people genuinely, they care. They really worry. Bishops are now praying about you at their homes to say, "Hey, may our chief get well."
Yeah.
Because they really think you are sick. So it takes time. In fact, after the Sahara story, one of the bishops said, "Hey, I could see he's not well, but no, man, the voice and the eloquence, it's still him. He's still standing."
Yes.
So, and that gave him hope. So then when he spoke to me later, I said, "No, Mfundisi, I'm fine. I deliberately went for a surgery to reduce weight." And, then people excitedly, and they support you to say, "No, good decision, well done," and so on.
And I think what is important to mention, this was not just a pure cosmetic thing. I mean, had you not taken that decision, there are certain risks that go with having the weight that you have. So most people think that it's a cosmetic thing. Even medically, that's why there's the medical aids. Some medical aids do pay for this kind of procedure. Like I said, body mass index 40. You've got other associated conditions, because it will cost them more to manage those problems as the scheme than to just fund this procedure. But obviously, it's not everybody can just demand it and get it. And also within the schemes, you must be in the higher option, to be able to do that. So, and obviously, only 16% of South Africans can even think about it, those who are in medical schemes. The rest of the people, who rely on the public health sector, you do have these operations being done in places like Steve Biko, Garankuwa Hospital, and some of the hospitals in the public sector. But it's, an exception. Very, very few people do have this because it's a costly procedure. So what I wanted to just say is that if you are in a medical aid or a medical scheme and you think you want to consider this kind of op, rather you go for a higher option, because then, comprehensive this on Boditas or Discovery or whatever. If you are on a small, option, you will not be considered. But in the public sector, very, very few people actually get to undergo this kind of operation.
Interesting question that came in. What has surprised you the most about this weight loss journey?
Surprised me the most is that it can actually happen. I think that's the biggest surprise, is that it can actually happen. Look, it's interesting because you then go through a period of rapid weight loss.
Yeah.
Now you start dropping about, give or take, 10 kgs almost, monthly. You're dropping about 10 kgs monthly and so on. And then you sort of reach a stage where you sort of now playing out a bit.
It plateaus.
Yeah, plateaus at that particular point. And then it starts to pick up again. Yeah. And when it picks up, it's now coming to a point where it must stabilize you at the weight that you would be targeting or you were hoping to target. Quite frankly, actually, I was looking to end up around 100 kgs, somewhere there, because I thought, look, I've never been a small guy. I don't want to totally disappear. I still want remnants of myself, and so on. But having lost a further 30 or 25 beyond that target, I'm actually also very comfortable in myself now. So it's just been surprising that it can actually happen. As I'm saying, I've never been a person for gym.
Yeah.
I've never been a person for diet. I just, to be quite frank and honest, lack the discipline to stick to a diet, consistently, especially in that kind of way. So those options for me, it's options that have been tried long ago, once in a while, but it's options that I'd long forgotten and moved away from.
Yes.
So this for me became a solution, but again, a solution that I was not necessarily pressed to go for. Yeah. So it became a solution as just part of the journey. And I think, that's why even when the good doctor here said, let's talk about it, I said, no, for me, I'm easy. I'm always willing to talk about it because it's nothing for me that's a secret. And it's something that, it's just that people never have the courage to ask. Yeah. If they had, it's something that I could easily share at any given point to say, guys, this thing can be done. You don't need to fly to Turkey. The amount of money you probably spend going there, staying there, coming back, visas and all of that. You've got equally good medical professionals in South Africa.
Yes.
I know in Turkey they say there's some other cosmetic surgeries there that
BBL.
That make for good talk at commissions and for good sight at other social areas, but in reality, South African medical professionals, I think, are amongst the best. And I think at times we undermine the capacity that we have in our country.
Yeah. So Liezl, just before you ask the next question, I will ask you about, sometimes there's excess skin after you've done the op. So maybe after the question from Liezl.
No, that's fine.
What would you tell your past self?
Hey, live life differently, man. And you do so many wrong things that you don't realize they're wrong. And they become normalized in your system. I mean, as I was saying, every morning when I wake up at home and I jump into the car, it was already a standard practice that the guys would have a Red Bull waiting for me in the car to drink on the way to work or whatever, or two, because that has now, that was just now my life.
Yeah.
I love meat, at some point, we would eat this fubasenkomo, that's ox brisket, about 3 times a week. About 3 times a week, And also the social circle supports this thing, because you must remember that, the circle
and you
that
being
you're
a chief, you'll get the best one.
Yes, so being in that space, everyone supports. No, let's eat meat, and it's never a difficult thing. It's always a simple thing of a WhatsApp. Hey, let's gather, man, today.
Yeah.
No, let's just have some meat, and you think that it's small meat. No, it's proper meat, and you're going to dig in.
Yeah.
So it's just to also be aware. I mean, even though the weight was not an issue for me, but I realize now that I didn't realize then that actually I was big.
Yeah.
I look at some of my pictures and I like some of them because I look very smart and handsome as a big guy. But when I look at them now, I say, I was big. And you start getting shocked. How did I get there? Because, weight loss is not overnight.
Yes.
You start to buy a large. Next thing you are buying extra large. Next thing you are buying double XL. Next thing, you can no longer walk into Ficano anymore. You must now start going to Woolworths because that's the only place that has 4XL, and so on. Then and at the time you don't realize it because it's just part of daily lived life and experience. So when I look back at it now, I realize and I say, I was big, but it's a reflection post facto. But it's just one of those amazing things to say, hey, you can really change as a person and change to your own good and actually discover yourself and new things that you could do that even then you thought you could do, but probably you wouldn't have been able to do.
Yeah. Any other question? So let's talk about, other people who will complain that as they lose weight, then they've got excess skin around the arms, around the, the waist area and whatever, so that they may now need to be taken through some plastic surgery to try and remove the excess skin. Have you had a challenge with
one of my prayers was answered, in the sense that I had said to myself, if there's one thing I'll never do is a second operation. Because I just don't like operations and hospital. And even on the first one, if someone was responsible for it, I would have said I was tricked into it, But it was my own decision. So I was just fortunate in that as I lost, you'd still find some excess skin under the arms and so on. But on an assessment, you realize that, with some training, building up some muscle mass, it's excess skin that is not problematic. That is actually able to shy away. So I've been fortunate in the sense that I've been able to lose a lot of weight without gaining a lot of excess skin.
Okay.
So it now has fallen off the radar that I may need to go for another. Maybe this one I would have gone to Turkey and enjoy
the other benefits.
Yeah, and enjoy the beaches in Turkey and enjoy the sea and relax and so on. But fortunately, I've not in assessment had to go that route because at least my excess skin has been able to, my loss has been able to be in proportion to my body, and I've not had an explosion of excess skin that I need to go remove.
Okay. So what would be your parting message to those people who are watching this, podcast, those who may be challenged with the issue of excessive weight, who may be contemplating following on your journey?
No, I think, Doc, the important thing, well, a number of things, but and I think some of them we've touched on, is that, people must also, I think medically it's important to know. Weight is not about simply excessive eating and all of those things. There may be underlying medical reasons that lead to the weight you have. So the first thing is to say, you may be sitting somewhere thinking, hey, I'm overweight, I need to lose and so on. Go for a checkup. Go to your doctors, get all the bloods done and so on. And you may find that, quite frankly, honestly, it is a question of just cutting down and going on a particular diet and so on and losing the weight. Or as I said earlier on, you may find that there are medical reasons you must attend to before embarking on a weight loss journey. So I just think it's important that people, because I don't think it's information I had, and I don't think it's information people have. Once you are big, you make the assumption that I'm not eating well. I'm not looking after myself.
You've got a relationship challenge.
Yes, and you might find that's not that's not the issue. So I think it's just important for people to take that decision first. But two, is to also ask themselves, why do you want to lose weight? I think it's an important question. And I think many people grapple with this thing. And as I said, some people have got confidence issues. You raised an important point. Some have come from a background of abuse and being bullied around weight and so on. So I think it's a conversation one must have with self as you embark on the journey. because then it will also direct you to where you want your journey to go.
Yes.
And if your journey ends up when you decide that, no, I actually want to do a bariatric surgery and so on because I want to lose weight, you must also know that once you've lost the weight, you might also lose parts of yourself. So don't. It's not just about weight. So don't lose the weight simply because you think I'll look more beautiful, I'll buy nicer clothes and all of these things. But also know that you as a person may also be lost in the process, and you'll have to fight and work hard to ensure that
to find the new you,
discover you, and pull the new you together to still be able to function in a space with the people you've lived with over time. But over and above that, I think science and medicine has given us great opportunities for us to be able to live healthier and better lives as people. And the fact that now, and I think I would have been able to, but I think I can chase the landlady much better now
Around
than
the
I was going to do before, you know. And it's an enjoyment,
How old is she now?
She's turned 4, so she's 4 and a few months.
About the same.
No, that's
period,
why. When I went in, it was around about the same time. So she's 4 in about 5 months.
Yes.
And now she's even got a younger brother who's 15 months. So at least I've got more time to chase those ones around now. And I can do it with greater ease than I probably would have been able to do it then.
Yeah.
And and hopefully they don't take the family genetics and also go big. So I'll have to watch them along the way as they grow to make sure to say, hey guys, stay fit, do all the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully they have the character to do it. We were too busy with politics and activism and toys. And even in a toy, you can only go for so long if you are big. So you have to be too smart and clever about what you do. So so I think that would be my parting shot to say, if people are considering weight loss, it's a good and important journey, but it's not a journey about weight.
Yeah.
It's a journey about you.
There's more to it.
Yeah. It's a journey about you as a person, and for it to be successful, you must have spoken to self, understood self, and clearly outlined that's the objectives that you want to achieve as the person.
Indeed.
There was a comment that came in. I'm going to read it. Mli has such a strong sense of self-worth that does not depend on body image.
Yes.
And his means to change does not come from self-hate, but wanting to grow. And that is a healthier drive.
Thank you.
Who is it coming from?
Do we have a name? I'm not sure who the person is. Maybe I'll send you the name right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I think from my side, parting shots from me, it comes from Queen.
Okay. I don't know Queen.
That comes from
Thanks, Queen.
So I think self-worth, I was going to stop with self-worth versus self-esteem.
Yes.
And I wanted to say, you asked the question of why do you eat meat when they've advised that, some people wouldn't be able to eat steak and things like that. And for me, I don't know the physical reasons, but I think you're just an outlier. I think your reason for wanting to do this is different. I think you're the outlier when it comes to making the decision for this, and I think it is based on your sense of self-worth. Self-worth is really it's unwavering. It's a deep, unconditional sense of I'm worthy just because I am. And self-esteem is really a fluctuating measure, and it's based on external factors. It's based on, performance, feedback, things like that, achievements. And I think your unconditional self-worth has sort of propelled you to make the decision and to stick with the decision. And obviously the landlady came in as a contributing factor, and that you're living life to be better for them. So I think they'll make healthy decisions because you are a role model.
Hopefully they do.
Yes.
And hopefully they can come with a lot of self-worth too as they grow up. Hopefully I can share that with them.
Yes.
So that they grow and really be people of confidence and benefit to society.
So as we wrap up, so I think one key message I just want to share with the people is that obviously there's different levels of weight challenges. And then there's also different options for different levels. Nowadays there is the wonder drugs, which we call GLP-1s, whereby you now get injections on a weekly basis, and they lead to one, losing weight, but they can only give you at best maybe a reduction of between 20 to 25% of your weight. That is the Munjaros. they can never come close to bariatric surgery. So if somebody wants to lose lots of weight, then bariatric surgery is that. You know, so I think people mustn't then assume that, oh, okay, if I am BMI 31, yes, you are on class 1 obesity, but you will not necessarily be accepted to do the bariatric surgery that Prince Mli has done. So solutions are tailored according to your own unique profile and whether there are any other chronic illnesses or not. All right. Queen Machete, quick myth that is a common weight loss myth. You used to believe in that. Okay, basically, what is a quick myth that you used to believe that now that you've gone through this journey, you think that must be debunked?
Well, you know, people always had, and although, as I said earlier on, I didn't do much research and so on and so on. But I also actually, by the way, was one of those people who asked me, why would you do this thing of a bypass? Why would, you know, what's the issue? Because, but again, you know, people are different. And now with hindsight, I realized that I was actually wrong to ask some of the people who were my friends, why did you decide to go and lose weight? I mean, for what purpose were you deciding? Yeah. Because obviously, as I said, people are driven by many things. Some it may be health, it may be medical. So, and I just think, Doc, we must have more open conversations about these things. Indeed. Especially as us as coming from an African society. You know, as you said, I'm from the rural areas in Transkei. I'm a chief there and so on. And, you know, people, and I can sense it. Yeah. People have got a greater respect for the chief they knew who was bigger in weight than me now. Yes. Because now I look like one of the lighties in the community, exactly. You know. They want you to look like Victor Paul. Yes, you know, and unfortunately that's not, you know, what we're going for. But, you know, we've got a certain, you know, reality that we attach to weight and so on. I mean, you've got weight, we assume now you've got money, you've got all of these things. And then the health issues follow after. That, hey, with such weight, and it's odd for me that people would worry about you and diabetes when you've lost weight than they do when you are actually very big. Because I would have thought everyone should have been saying, hey, pass up for diabetes, set your weight, pass up for, you know, heart attacks and so on. But no one says that. But now that you've lost weight, everyone says, hey, I've got a good medicine for diabetes I must get for you, one mixture. That I get from the Sigi. I'll arrange it. Give me your address, it will be delivered. You know? So I just think there's more conversations we must have about these things because we attach certain stigma to weight. Yes. You know. And assumptions. Assumptions. Relationship with food. Yes, and that's why I was saying earlier on, people would be shocked to say, but you hardly eat. You know, where does the weight come from? Then they would see my grandfather and say, oh, no, it's hereditary. So it's coming from that line. Yes. And again, you know, people think, you know, weight, you know, nestima, you've got this dignity and aura, you've got a presence. When you walk in, if you are with 5 men, everyone knows Mlimandlela must be the chief. This must be the Mlimandlela, you know, we are talking about. And now, I mean, everyone thinks you look much younger, and I'm actually older. So then people always used to say, no, but Mlimandlela can't. When you say I'm turning 40, people say, no, he can't be 40. I mean, this guy has been around for so long. He must be 50 or so. Politics, very, 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 very young. You know, and now one of the things actually that come up within that top 10 of things that people Google is Mlimandlela and Ndamase age. Yes. Because now, of the weight loss, people are now interested to know, but how old is this guy actually? You know, so it's just things like that. So I think there's more conversations we must have. And I think one advice I would give to people, obviously weight can be an intrusive thing and so on, but, you know, let's normalize if you talk and ask people decently, you'll get the answer. I mean, as I've said, many people have come to me, how can I lose weight, my chief? I send them contacts. Here's the link to the website, make an appointment, you know, go check yourself out, you know, and go for it. So people must not have this fear that, hey, we can't ask about this thing because we must talk more about our health generally as people. You know, we need to converse because in conversation then we learn more, we share more ideas, and that helps us to, you know, hopefully become a healthier society and nation.
Thank you very much, Faku. Thank you very much, Nyauza.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm not going to go, you know, when I'm at home in Transkei, you know, you can continue about the Faku clan and these things that can't be said in public. You know,
I thought I was going to find ox liver here with nice
yeah, so no, as you say, we'll still have more conversations into the future. Today, I didn't want this conversation to be marred by talking about the drugs, the injections, and the other things. I wanted your story for you to just share your story, the procedure that you underwent, and less about other options. If people want to know more about other options, we can schedule another podcast. But for today, this was about you giving a testimony of the journey, 4-year journey that you have undertaken, and how it has transformed you into a new person, psychologically, but also physically. And I'm sure many other people are still looking for you to hand over more of those suits that I'm sure you didn't give all of them to everybody. There are those that are still occupying a kind of place there in the wardrobe, you know. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks, Benny.
I hope the people who have been scared, wanting to know about what has happened to you, they are now relaxed. They know that you are not terminal. They know that this was a conscious decision for health reasons, and you actually have thrived post that procedure, and you are actually encouraging others who may be clinically found to be fitting the criteria. Don't just sit, there was that song, yes. The people who feel they need to consider this because their body mass index is over 40, they mustn't sit around the corner there somewhere and frustrated. You have told them that you are free to share the information, referrals and all. So, and if you want to do so, you can DM him or messenger him on Facebook, and you'll be able to get him, to assist you in terms of which pathway to follow. So thank you very much. I know we've taken more than the hour we're supposed to take.
No, it's fine.
And we actually started a little bit late, about 15 minutes late. So I think this is about the time where we should now thank everyone who has joined us via Facebook or via YouTube. And say, you know what, I hope you got something that will also transform your life. You don't have to wait until you are, at obese levels. There's things that you can do to stay within the body mass index of between 18.5 and 24.9, which is the normal level. So if you are overweight, or if you are, obese in terms of the BMI, please, in fact, most people may not even know where they are. So I think the starting point from this session is that everybody should go and check what is their body mass index, and if it is within the normal level, you stay doing the things that you are doing. If it is overweight, that is between 25.1 and 29.9, there's something you can do about it. Certainly, if it is over 30, there's a lot that you can do. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will also try next time to schedule another conversation about the other options that are non-surgical. Thank you very much. And
thank you very much.